Okay, bye-bye.
My Lord. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari, my Lord and Majesty, Empress, family, near and far, we give thanks for life, health, and strength. Give thanks for the mighty life giver, the prophet, the priest, and the king, and the divine queen of creation. Empress Menenai, Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari, give thanks. Yeah, man. Give thanks for the African Liberation Network, once again, to even give I the floor still, to even come and bring such truth to the world. Tonight's topic is the sacredness of the locs and how it became from sacred to revolutionary to fashion. And I give the breakdown, and the significance of the locs and how it's devalued today and how once, desecrate the true sacredness of it. And I'll start reading from certain scriptures where Joshua and them that the locs is sacred to him, and the reason why it's sacred. So I'll start with Numbers 6, the Nazarite vow, Numbers chapter 6, verse 1. I'll just read a few verses. I wouldn't read the whole chapter. And the Lord speak unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto the Lord, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink. Neither shall he drink any liquor or grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried. All the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk. All the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled in which he separated himself unto the Lord. He shall be holy and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. All the days that he separated himself unto the Lord, he shall come at no dead body. He shall not make himself unclean for his father, nor for his mother, for his brother, or for his sister, when they die, because the consecration of his God is upon him. All the days of his separation, he is holy unto the Lord. And if any man die very suddenly by him, and he had defiled the head of his consecration, then he shall shave his head in the day of his cleansing. On the 7th day shall he shave it. And on the 8th day, he shall bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons to the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering and the other for a burnt offering, and make an atonement for him, for that he sinned by the dead, and shall hallow his head that same day. And he shall consecrate unto the Lord the days of his separation, and shall bring a lamb of the first year for a trespass offering. But the days that were before shall be lost, because his separation was defiled. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari. So the main point Jah showing here is that those who take the Nazarite vow, it's a sacred vow, it's a holy vow. And he gave us a certain liberty to identify this vow. And one of the main things he says, we shouldn't put a razor on our head. So our locks should be grown, The man say only if you go around or a dead flesh die in your presence, you shall shave your head. And that's another controversy, same way, because if you go in Leviticus 21, it shows you that the priest who holding the Nazarite vow, he can defile himself for family member You see it? So this a clearance that have to, come through to the world still, because North don't fully understand that vow when they're dealing with even with the dead. You see it? So it say that at the law, so Leviticus 21, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, speak unto the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say unto them, there shall none be defiled for the dead among his people, but for his kin that is near unto him, that is for his mother and for his father and for his son and for his daughter and for his brother and for his sister, a virgin that is nigh unto him, which had had no husband. For her may he be defiled, but he shall not defile himself, being a chief man among his people, to profane himself. They shall not make any baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cutting in their flesh. So in number 6, it's showing you that if you hold in the Nazarite vow with the locks and you come around the dead, you have to cut. But here on Leviticus 21, it show you that the priest that has the locks and not shaving their beards and everything, if a family member passed, they free to deal with their family member. You see it, and that makes more sense, because it's hard for one to lose his family, and him or her family, and can't attend to the memorial and them thing there and have to cut your locks and it come away. So it's understanding, praise God. So this here make more logical sense, because even with me, I had to deal with my caretakers when they pass, and Nuff asked me what I could do if I could cut my wool. I say, no, my Lord, because it's my family, it's my blood, and everyone have to pass that way, even dealing with daughter, they had to deal with this structure, and they didn't have to cut their locks. So you just take a cleanse, take a break, so understand and praise God. Before to the locks now, in Numbers chapter 6, the locks is sacred. The locks is holiness. The locks means divine. The man say it's a consecration to him. Consecration means a vow, a sign of holiness, a sign of, separating yourself from the world, people who ain't really look like you, who ain't living like you. You see it? And that's what the Nazarite vow is, those who come with the priestical dreadlocks order. You see it? And if you go in the New Testament, Christ come as a Nazarite, it's a Jesus Christ of Nazareth, So we don't know that Christ have to be a Rasta man if he call himself a Nazarene. You see it, enough other scriptures in the holy books show I them that the locks is sacred. Even if you go to Judges 16, verse 13, show you but Samson, Jah went to his mother and show him, when she have this child, don't eat nothing dealing with the flesh. And when this child come, show him in the way of the Nazarite vow. Don't put no race upon his head, because this child shall be holy. You see it? And if you go to Judges 16, verse 19, it show you that where Delilah came and tried to find out on Samson's weakness, and he showed his weakness is his locks. And he has 7 locks on his head. So when he went to rest, she ended up, cutting his locks, and he ended up losing his strength. But it ain't like physical strength, like, he could lift nothing or anything. That's a spiritual strength, a spiritual connection with Jah. And they have it's historical fact, it was recorded by some, I think it was in America when they had the Vietnam War. The Americans was recruiting some native Indians, and they was good with tracking and all them thing there. So they used them to help them track, their enemies on the battlefield and in the jungles and thing like that, And they noticed well, they end up cutting their hair because enough of the native Indians, their hair was long, enough of them had locks and things. So they end up cutting their hair and recruiting them into their army, you know? And they noticed that they wasn't really as skilled with tracking and using their sensory, you know, sensing out where the enemy is and stuff like that when they cut their hair. So when they noticed that, they say we got to test this out. So they asked one of the elder Indians, and the elder Indians is saying that they lose certain spiritual or supernatural capabilities after they cut their locks. So they really didn't have that clear sensory to sense out the enemy or track the enemy where they was like that. So what they did was they brought Indians with long hair and they cut some of their hair and they left some with their hair, and they test them and send them out in the field to go hunt or whatever like that. And they noticed that the ones with the long hair was tracking better. They was more, you know, more focused with their sensory. You see, so that's where they really find out that, you know what, it really is the hair with really giving them that sensory, you know. They're giving them that antenna to sense the enemy around or whatever like that. So that's what we need to understand with the hair, you know. The hair is an extension of our nervous system, you know, and it's more like a exteriorized nerve. So it's a outside nerve, you know, and it is a type of highly evolved feeler, like an antenna, that transmit vast amount of important information to the brainstem, the limbic system, and the neurocortex, where the hair, when the hair is cut, the receiving and sending transmission to and from the environment, it could be hampered. You see it? So the receiving of transmission from the environment and from nature, it will be cut. So the locks is almost like the whiskers on animals, you know, like the cats and the dogs or whatever. Whiskers is a hair. They use the whiskers to really work around the environment, you know, sensory. That's what they use their whiskers for, you know. It tunes their sensory and guide them through their daily functions, you know. It's a specialized hair with aid and vision and helping them navigate in their environment. That's what whiskers is. So the hairs it's just like the whiskers, you know, it's our antenna. You see, it's not something that is just fashion and you could, you know, twist it up and pretty it up and it have no value. It's just for beauty. You know, the hair is sacred. It's holy, you know, and even in Africa, the babies, they'll leave the hair, especially in the middle where it's more soft on their, you know, their cranials. They leave the hair there to protect them. And only certain family members will touch their hair in their whole lifetime. They wouldn't let anyone touch their hair because the hand, the palms carry energy, you know, and the wrong frequency touch your hair, it could harm you, you know. They have a saying, even in the, you know, the Haitian culture, when a woman is pregnant, you shouldn't let her fool with your hair because she taking the hair and, you know, giving most of the hair to her baby, you know, and the hair start to drop. It's a saying. So it's a spiritual connection. They trying to show you the hair is sacred. You know, you just can't let anyone touch it and bother with it. Even with, you could even identify people with a strand of their hair. They have equipment devices that they could identify a person by a strand of their hair, which is they use your hair to cast hacks and jints on you. You know what I mean? So hair is you. It's a part of you. You know, it's not just something you could cut and it have no meaning and you could grow it back again because, you know, just cut it and throw it away or whatever. That same person, a person could use that same hair which you cut to harm you. because that hair is connected to you. You see it? So we have to, see the sacredness of the locks, even with Ezekiel. Ezekiel was saying that, I go to Ezekiel 8, verse 3. He put out the form of a hand and took me by a lock of my head, and the Spirit lifted me up between earth and heaven and brought me in a vision of God to Jerusalem, to the entrance of the gateway of the inner court that faces north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provokes to jealousy. So that hand what took Ezekiel locks into the spiritual realm wasn't a physical hand. That was the transmission of Jah. That was the transmission, the signals from Jah to his hair, to his locks, the receptor. The locks is a receptor, is a receiver. You see it, it receives the messages from Jah and helps him to see the vision clear. It's like an antenna, like if you have a TV, the long antenna catches frequency better, and the short antenna, it doesn't catch that high frequency like that. So the shorter the antenna, it catches high frequency, but the long spiral antenna catches the ultra high frequency. You see it? So that's why even with like the wool, because we have Europeans, Indians, and they grow locks too, but the hair texture too, that's another thing we have to look into. So the woolly hair have more connection with our environment and receiving energy because it's like a spiral. You see it? It spirals around the curly spiral, kinky hair. It receives better energy. It's a more strong antenna of receiving information from Jah. You see it? So that's why you see I and them here. Those who have the woolly hair, like the Africans, we lock much easier. We don't even have to really twist our hair. We just leave it and our hair just lock naturally because it's the natural spiral hair. And they try to make us feel like it's bad hair, but the kinkier or the curlier or more spiral, it's more stronger. It's a more better receptor, because just like the Hindu god Shiva, you notice him with the locks and that snakes around the locks. Not saying that it's a bad image or whatever, but the snake represents the spiral, the antennas, like a wire, receiving energy, receiving information from the cosmos, from the universe, from our environment, So the locks is like a wire that receives energy, just like the wires on the poles that receive electricity and carry electricity to houses and different buildings or whatever like that. That's how what our locks is to our body. It receives electricity, receives information, and comes to us through the brain, And if you study the autonomy of the hair, at the base of the hair, the follicles are sensory nerve fibers that wrap around each hair bow. Binding the hair stimulates the nerve endings, allowing a person to feel that hair has been moved. One of the main functions of the hair is to act as a sensitive touch receptor. You see it? So the hair is a receptor. The hair receives energy. You see it? So that's what we have to understand, that the locks are sacred. And that's why I went into the holy volume, into the scriptures, to show you that Jah glorified those with the locks, those who grow their hair long. And then, I bring the scientific proof to show you why Jah, glorify the hair and make it sacred, because it's an extension, it's an extension of us. You see it, to connect with the Father. You see it, even with like animals like the bat. The bat have like their wings. It's a bony web hand, like with 5 fingers. That's how it look, joined by a membrane. You know, it's covered with like a stiff dome micro hair. You see it? And researchers show that, you know, like the bats, the hair, it aids the bat in flight. You know, it controls detecting air, you know, the facility, the velocity and the wind direction, you know, and the potential to stall conditions. You know, it's also, it feeds their brain sensory information about the configuration of the maze, you know. So when their wing hair was removed by, you know, cream or whatever like that, they noticed that the bat wasn't really functioning in the way it was functioning when the hair was on the wings. So, you know, enough people, enough scientists study the hair and the significance of the hair. They just wouldn't tell I and I them that, you know, but we have to, you know, go out there and search and research and you know, understand I and I biology and understand why Jah make this divine makeup that we have. You know, we are divine beings, you know, everything Jah create has a divine purpose, you know, especially our body, our structure, you know, our hair, everything on us is unique, it's priceless. You can't put no price on our body, you know, on our biology, you know. And then it's sad to see that, you know, Africans in general, you know, they'll look at their hair as bad and then they'll go buy hair of other races to put on their head. You see it? You have individuals with dreadlocks and still they go put weave cap on their head to cover their locks just for beauty. You know, where the weave cap, they wasn't made for young individuals. They was made for the elderly, you know, who was lacking of hair and stuff like that, didn't have hair and stuff, you know, the hair falling off and stuff like that. They would create the weave cap so they could, you know, look presentable and still look nice or whatever like that. So when you see the young generation of the Black sisters wearing weave and stuff like that, then they don't even know that the weave wasn't made for them. The weave was made for the elderly that, you know, who hair was falling off, you know, but now they use weave for the design, you know, and some say in ancient Kemet, they was using weave too, you know, that's for beauty or whatever. But naturally, you know, we don't need it. You know what I'm saying? Naturally, we don't need it. And the sacredness of the locks was so divine, you know, when the European world came in and saw that, you know, they envied that, you know, and they start to, you know, turn us against ourselves and make us look at ourselves as, you know, unpleasant. And, you know, and they bring the you know, the bald head lifestyle us. Yeah, some of us had bald head. We used to cut our hair. Enough would be like, oh, y'all is Rasta, but y'all God don't have dreadlocks. You know, if you see some pictures with the emperor, even when he was young, 3 years old, 5 years old, you'll see him with his locks next to King Menelik. You know, he have his locks, you know. So the emperor knew the sacredness, you know, of the locks. You see it. That's why when he went to Jamaica in 1966, you know, when Ras Boniji, known as Bongo Wato, when he was to the banquet, you know, the emperor asked him why he grew the locks, you know, and Bongo Wato told him that he grew the locks because of number 6, the Nazarite vow. It's a sacred order. It isn't for fashion. It ain't just to look good. It's a holy order. You know, that's our dedication and our vow to him, you know, and he knew that the locks is I and I receptor antenna. It's almost like, all right, just say for instance, you pray in the jar. I mean, everyone have their personal connection with the Father, but when you have long hair or locks, when you pray and give him praise, the locks help your signal to reach Jah better. Like it's a transmission. Like you can receive the transmission much better with the locks. And even with the turbine, if you go to Leviticus 21 to show you that um, the priest should not uncover his head. So even with the turbine carrying the locks up, it's like the turbine bringing all the antennas into one and carrying up so it could even amplify the transmission, amplify the reception of the environment and whatever messages just sending you, it enhances it because you bringing all the locks into one with the turbine. You see what I'm saying? And it protects you from people touching your locks up too, because you have some people, they just walk straight up to you and just touch a lock and be like, oh, they long or they look nice or whatever, not knowing that they could bring harm to you. So that's another reason why, it's good to keep the locks covered and protected, from those outside forces, people that have filthy hands. You see it? And then the revolutionary side now, when the European colonial masters start to come into Africa now, most of the resistance them had dreadlocks, like the Mayu Mayu of Kenya, the Maasai people, even the Ashanti tribe. Enough of them had locks too. Enough ancient tribes in Africa had locks, and they were resistance against the Europeans then because enough iron at them, they used to shave iron at them locks, you see, to please them and to look suitable in their eyesight. You see it? And even when you come down now to the Western Hemisphere, the rise of Rastafari, when King Manuel and Bongo Watto, which was the first Rasta man to really come with the dreadlocks. And that's when the British government, start to attack Iron Item. They didn't want that image to really, that ancient image to take over again, And in 1958, when King Manuel had the foundation, the establishment of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress Church, 3,000 Rastaman was there, and through certain situations with the other Rasta houses, they break Queen Victoria's statue and of course a riot, and they start to, beat the father, beat everyone up, the police them just start coming and brutalizing Iron Item, and that's when the envy of the dreadlocks even rise even more. And if you go to the Coral Garden incident massacre, in Montego Bay, 1963, the Bastamanti ordered that bring all Rasta in dead or alive. So there's even killing Iron Item, Iron Item locks, So it became from sacred to a resistant movement, like a revolutionary movement, because now these heroes had to come now to preserve it, to keep it alive, because these colonializers now want to eradicate the wearing of the locks, the sacredness of it. And we give thanks for King Manuel and Bongo Watto and all the other elders them that come with the dreadlocks to even stand up to keep this order alive, and them time, and even when I was young, it was hard to get a job with locks. Locks was depicted as negative, and I remember my mother used to say, "Oh, you ain't gonna get no job, no sensible job." Basically trying to say you ain't gonna get no job in Babylon to work for Babylon or be a doctor or lawyer or whatever it may be. They always look at like the locks as like down, like the value, like you ain't gonna be nobody, you ain't gonna really, doors is gonna open up for you, you ain't gonna have no opportunities in life if you have the locks, that type of way. And we give thanks for those who stood up and went through those type of struggles and tribulation and still standing strong today, because I could imagine back then, can't get no works, and can't go to school, can't send your youth them to school with locks, you know, because of the vow you made, you know. So we give thanks for those, you know, who really stood up and defend this dreadlocks order. That's why it hurts me when I see it become like a mediocre fashion today. You know, people them just wear it any type of way. And it's crazy how they'll look at those who really living up to the sacredness of the dreadlocks. They'll look at us as abnormal. Like we're the weird ones. We're the ones that are wrong or living it the wrong way. Yeah, it's crazy. I witnessed this myself. The individual saw a brethren with locks. You can see the brethren, he ain't dealing with Rasta or nothing like that. He ain't dealing with no order or no Nazarite vow, and he just, you know, drinking anything, saying anything, you know, with profanity and all them things there. And I watched someone call this brethren Bobo. And when they saw me, they just called me by my name. Hey, Lonzo. All I could have said is dread, the mentality, you know, the backwardness of society, you know, like the blindness that they don't even see that, you know, I am trying to keep this ancient order preserved, you know, from being desecrated, from being destroyed, you know, from society. You go on the media, you see rap singers, you know, with locks, and they singing about shooting their brother, shooting their black brother, or they're degrading the black woman. You know, they in gangs, you know, with locks. You know, you go in the club, you see brethren and sister in them with the locks, and they shaving it to the bottom, and they doing all type of different designs with the locks, and not giving homage and respect to those who paved the way so they could wear those locks freely like that today. Because if it wasn't for the Rastaman, the true resistance of the dreadlocks, they wouldn't be able to be so free, you know, wearing locks today, you know. You know what I mean? They could get jobs now with the dreadlocks. They could get government jobs. You know, they could be a doctor, a lawyer. You know, they could work for the white men them now with the locks because they know that they're not living that vow. They're not living in that principle that is required of the locks. You see the wearing of the dreadlocks, you know. I give thanks even for Jomo Kenyatta was the Mao same way. You know, the dreadlocks resistance, fighting against the British, you know, and from conquering Kenya, you know. We give thanks for the Mao who even conquered the British, you know, and like Jomo Kenyatta, you know, could come and take control and take back, you know, Kenya from the white world, you know, from the British, you know. So that's a dreadlocks brother. That's a brother who come from a dreadlocks tribe, you know, the Mao, you see it. And enough different states in Africa, you know, different tribes, they fight down the dreadlocks too. And some of them maybe just don't even understand. Like I say, some of them lost the true history and the true science of the locks. And I have a letter here. It's not long. I'll read it from the king of Nigeria to Jah, the King Emmanuel in 1993. You see it, and he was trying to explain to Jah that he would accept both of them in Nigeria, but he was questioning Jah about the locks because, you know, enough of them Muslim, Christian, Yoruba, and, you know, and enough of them, they don't understand the dreadlocks, and they look at the locks like a Jamaican thing, like it's a Jamaican culture. Like enough of them didn't understand that it's an African culture. So I'll just read the letter so you can catch a full understanding what he was trying to explain to Dada. You see. So we'll start. Akiga Village, Anaka, Oyi, Anambra State, Nigeria, West Africa, June 1993. The ABIC Church of Salvation, 10 miles Bull Bay, St. Andrew, Jamaica. Sir, I met some of your men here in Nigeria, and they explained their situation and needs to me concerning the international repatriation of our people in every part of the world. First of all, I want to introduce myself to you. My name is Simeon Akamchi Agulbu Abonomi. I am a native of Anuku in IELGA of Anambra State of Nigeria. Now I learned from your people here of what they are hunting for, which is to return to their father's land as their fundamental aim. I was trembled to hear that it occurred to your minds to seek for your home in any part of Africa after many years in slavery. So I call for the attention of the king of my town, His Royal Highness Awi Peter and Agua, and his cabinets with the committee members of the town union, and express my feelings to them about the situation of these my people in slavery overseas. They felt it so seriously for the condition which which your people are suffering over there. So they asked me to invite your people here for face-to-face discussion, which we have done. In the meeting with your people, the town accepted you to return to Anuku as the citizens and the parts of pastor of Anuku, not as religious organization or organization of any kind. But our request is to receive a letter or letters from the president of Nigeria, the governor of Anambra State, and the chairman of Oyi local government area. These letters will enable the entire members of the town know that your returning is accepted by the federal government of Nigeria. So what you will do is to write or visit the president of Nigeria or anybody who is concerned for the official note or your returning for the availability of the letters required. Again, our question is this. We know that before your forefathers were taken away from Africa, they were completely Africans in every part of their body. There was no difference then. Now this is our question. How possible will your people see it in having similar hairs in terms of shaving like your people here in Africa? Just as we are the same in natural complexion. But note that being in a similar hair or not will never affect your return into your fatherland, but it will just help to mix up with your people here easily, sorry, without taking long period, like in marriage and in other parts of life. In Nigeria here, we recognize every Jamaican with long hair, but as you are returning home to Africa as Africans, there is no need to remain in the same mood with Jamaicans. Otherwise, it will look as Jamaicans in Africa, which will still be indicating as strangers or visitors in Africa. Please elaborate in this point. How are you with our people over there? Mind you that there will not be any sleep or rest or tiredness until you obtain your aim from God. So more grease on your elbow. I pray for God's help in your plans to become reality in the name of our Savior forever and ever, Jesus Christ, Amen. Thanks. We'll be expecting to hear from you soon. Simon Obamini, representative of a king in Nigeria. So you see, even certain parts in Africa, they don't see the locs as an ancient African tradition. You see, because it been taken away from them through colonial, invasion and thing, and certain culture from the Islamic, from the Arabs, them invasion and all that, they take the locks away from us. They disconnect our antennas from receiving that full transmission from Jah, you know. Like I say earlier, the locks is like the whiskers on animals, you know, on the cats and the dogs and the lions, and you know, the whiskers help them to, you know, navigate well, you know, to receive information from Jah. That's how they sense praise, you know, from far, or predators from far. That's how they could tap into the unseen, you know, the with the naked eye or the ears can't hear, you know. So they disconnect that from I and give thanks for King Manuel who come and bring that to remembrance, you know. And psalmists have this argument that if King Manuel was the first dreadlock man or bongo water, them things doesn't matter, you know. All that matters that, you know, they came together and they fought for I and them to be here with the dreadlocks today. You know, you have some individuals have that small mind trying to separate us and, you know, make it seem like we have a different aim or whatever, you know. The practices just was a little different, but the same aim, you know, going to Africa with the ancient way, you know, the ancient image. That's why you see His Majesty could even come down here and give Hugh Shearer documents that all slave children should be handed over to King Manuel's hand, because he know that he really come with that full liberty he want us to live himself. So he give King Manuel that mission to teach us of our anciency, to bring us forward back to our fullness, you know, the locks, the wearing of the turbine, the eating healthy, and you know, the dress code, you know, and cleaning up our heart and mind, and fashioning us and washing us up. King Manuel is like the wash house, to wash us clean. So when we go forward home, you know, we wouldn't be whitewashed. We wouldn't be, you know, colonialized. We wouldn't have that slavery thinking, you know, that Babylonian thinking, that selfish thinking, you know, that all for yourself. And, you know, because back then, the ones who had locks, the priests them who had the dreadlocks, they was the real judges and the rulers. Like Samuel, if you go into Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 1, his mother Hannah, Jah closed her womb. You see, Jah closed her womb, and she prayed to Jah to have a child, and she promised Jah that if he give her this child, she will make sure this child walk in the Nazarite vow, the vow to please him. So she knew that Jah loved the Nazarite vow. She know that the way of living is the dreadlocks way of living. So she promised Jah that if he bless her womb and made her, give her the opportunity to get pregnant, she will make sure the child walk within the dreadlocks order. And that's when Samuel came, you know, High Priest Samuel came, you know, and he was a Nazarite. Jah say, just don't put no razor on his head and let his hair grow. You see it? So that show you there that the dreadlocks is a blessing. You see it back then, that seeing a one with locks was a high honor. You see it, only the high priest them used to wear locks. Even in the Shaolin temple, like in Tibet, the sensei them, the masters, the elders, only the elders them could carry locks. You know, the other disciples them, they had the skin they had because they wasn't ready for that type of, you know, commitment. They wasn't ready to receive that type of transmission. You see it? So the elders them had the locks, you know, and then you see in number 6, it show you that when your days are done, then you shave your locks. When your days are done, what I mean by that is enough elders them could see when their time was coming to leave this earthly life. So enough of them Shaolin monks them, they used to cut their locks even before they passed. They could see their locks gave them the transmission. They could have received signals from Jah and visions and things through the help of their locks, their long hair, to see when their passing will be. And they'll cut their locks, and then you see like a week or two later, they pass away and they rest. You see, that's the heights, the science with the INI antennas carry. You see it? So today now, they make like the short haircut or the bald head, like people of high society, like, you know, like a decent look. They look at that as decent. They said, you know, the doctors, the lawyers, the judges, you know, the whole Babylon system, the whole European setup, you know, it's set up to have bald head, you know, and that's what society look at as a pleasant look. But one time ago, the pleasant look was the dreadlocks, and now that liberty is here again, you know. But you have individuals that use it for fashion. You know, everybody want locks now, you know. But I know for sure if these days was like in Bassamanti days, they wouldn't even have no locks on their head. Everybody would have bald head, you know. So we give thanks for the Rastaman, them, the true revolutionaries, you know, the true angels that come bring the sacredness of the locks and, you know, the revolutionary, you know, resistant movement of the locks, you know, and fought for I and them to be here wearing it so freely. You know what I mean? Where we could, you know, like I said earlier, go to colleges, get jobs, you know, and create businesses. And, you know, the fight is not as hard as it was, you know, in the earlier days, because Jad and his followers and the other houses opened that door for us, you know, so it could be easier with the locks. So I give thanks, you know, for such understanding of I and I'm here. And then even treating your hair is another important thing too, because Northers be using all type of folly on their hair, like the we call it now the perm and all them thing there, which destroys the hair follicle and destroys the connection with the environment by burning up the scalp with this perm. And the perm has a chemical called sodium hydroxide. That's like a acid that can burn through. We call it now a can soda. That could burn right through a can soda. That could melt a can soda. That's how serious this acid is. You see it? It could burn through raw meat. It could burn through basically almost anything, you know? And that's what they put in the perm. And that's what, you know, the Black sisters, them, the African sisters, them put on their head to straighten their hair to look like the lesser humans, the people that who have, you know, lesser, the genetics are recessive, you know? Their genetics are weaker than us, and they want their hair to look like that. Anybody you see who come with that straight, long hair, that's dead hair. You see it, that's dead hair. Yeah, the hair that have life is the kinky hair, the spiral hair, the woolly hair that comes in a spiral, because that's the original antenna. When you see the antenna has that spiral, you can catch better frequency, you can catch better signal with the spiral antenna instead of the straight antennas on the TV. Them straight antennas, you can catch better signal like the spiral antennas on the TV. And that's exactly that's the difference between the African hair type and the Caucasian hair type, the Indian and the Chinese hair type. They hair dead, you know, it falling down, they ain't got no life. You know, like when you, just say for instance, when an African plait their hair and they take it out and you see it being a fro, when they go wash that, when they go clean that off or whatever, grease that down nice, you see it like a shrink because it's alive. The hair is living. You see, it's like a snake. That's where the Hindu god Shiva got the locks concept with the snake in the hair, showing you that the woolly hair is like like a snake sparrow, like it's alive, like an antenna, it keep moving. It don't stay still. That's what we call living, you know? But the other races now, they hair dead. You call that fur, like the dog hair, the horse hair or whatever. They're dead, like it's just hanging down. They ain't got no life. You see what they saying? And then sometimes when they lay down, you see the hair all over the place, dropping and stuff like that. You know, lice and all that taking over. But I and I'm here different, and that's why it's good to, you know, wash it with, you know, with herbal shampoo, you know, with herbal shampoo and thing, you know, wash it with the hibiscus. You see it, and grease it down with coconut oil. You see it, grease it down with avocado oil or whatever, treat it. You see it. And then sometimes we don't even have to wash our hair as frequent like the other races. You know, they leave their hair for a week without getting washed. You see lice that start to flake, you know, and our sisters, them, that's what they want. That's the hair they want. They hair. They paying $300-400 for a Rami or whatever, or Brazilian hair to go and put on their hair. And they don't know what type of aura or energy these people carrying, and they putting this hair on their head, you know. They putting this hair on their temple. The hair is the highest element on our body to God. It's the highest thing to God on our body is our hair. That's our crown. The locks is the crown, you see it? So when you go and put these dead people hair on your head, you know what I mean? You bringing bad aura, you bringing bad omen on you, you know? And they don't see it like that. They seeing it like, oh, I work hard for my money. I could buy what I want. I want to look good. So I could buy my weave and I could just put it on and look nice or whatever. Not knowing that person could have been a witch, that person could have been a murderer. You see it, or they murder that person to take their hair. Because right now in India, they have a program going on where they pay them for their hair. Or every year they have this festival or the ceremony where they go and they cut their hair and they say they donating it to God or whatever like that. All the while, the people them there, they use their hair for business. They carry it to the factory and they package it up or whatever and sell it cheap to Europe, and then Europe send it down here, you know, and they sell it to the Africans. You see it. But you never see them buying them woolly hair. But not say we, but I saying it as a collective. We are people, they go there and they support them. People who don't even love us, people who don't even care about us, people who don't, you know, don't care to spend with us. We put their hair on our head, you know, and they make the cream, the what do you call it now? The perm, they make the perm for us to burn up iodine antennas, to destroy iodine connection, our receptors with Jah. You see, they know what they doing, man, you know, and they get this well planned. It's just I and I as a people, you know, we worry about fashion, we worry about looks too much. You see it, and we don't see the bigger picture that these people trying to take us out of our natural self. They want us to hate ourselves, you know. So you know, just take that in consideration, man, and you know, take care of your wool, love your wool, even if it's just a fro or whatever it is. Just be natural, even if it's not locks, but just, you know, don't permeate, don't put them judgment, strange people, aura and spirit on your head, man. Your head is your crown. That's where your brain is, Dread. You see it? That's where your brain stem is. That's where all your thought process going on. That's your heavens. You know, that King Manuel called the brain your heavens. You know, that's where you create. That's your mind. That's how you function. That's the main engine that controls your whole life. You know, before you move your hand, you have to meditate it first. So, you know, that's why the hair is so important. The hair is like for the brain. That's how the brain is catch signal. You know, the brain is ionite TV. That's ionite television. That's how we see things. That's how we visualize things. So The antennas of the TV, which is our brain, help us to see things clear, help us to receive better. You know, that's I trying to put it the best way to like where you can catch a full understanding how important, how significant I and them here is, you know, and the locks, you know, and the longer it is, the better the better signal it can receive from Jah. The longer it is, the shorter it is, it can receive signal, but not as high, you know. But when it's the longer it is, you can receive ultra high frequency. You see it. So we have to, you know, keep our, you know, take care of our hair, you know, protect it. Don't let anyone touch your hair and stuff and bring harm to your hair. Don't let anyone touch your youth stem hair. You see it? Just take care of your hair, man, and grow your locks and be proud of your locks, you know, to know that it's a sacred crown. It's holiness to Jah. You can't worry about what people think. You know, you need to cut your hair, or you ain't gonna get this job if you don't cut it, or you know, you ain't tired of struggling, and yeah, they come with all type of discouraging words. You know, enough individuals, they go through different, you know, struggles. Ain't all Rasta have the capability, like to say, create a job, a business for themselves. So some have to go and work for the system and work for individuals and stuff. Enough of them is get persecuted, you know, enough of them is get a struggle. You know, they trying to deter them and try to discourage them to cut their locks so they could get a better opportunity, to get a better position and job. I watch enough Rasta do that. Oh, they promised me this and they go cut their locks and they still without a job. You see, all this is tests, you know, Jah's put I and them in to see if we really love him. Because the man said, if you love him, keep his commandments. You see it? So keeping these commandments, keeping these statutes, going through all this for Jah, is a part of love. Enough people just get love different. So we give thanks, you know, by growing your locks and going through this divine order. And for Jah, standing on the battlefield, standing in the fire, that's love. You see it? That's love, man. When you could walk with integrity and walk in the Nazarite vow with full integrity, that's love for Jah. That's what King Manuel loved. You know, you see that we preserving this ancient order with he fought so hard to keep alive, you know, from in the early 1940s, you know, man, them agitating to keep this dreadlock tradition alive, man. You know, so I encourage all loved ones, you know, especially the Empress them, you know, because I know it ain't easy for the sisters them, especially, you know, wearing the skirt in the fall and all them thing there. You know, it's hard for them to get works and things like that with the locks and stuff. You know, don't let go and you know, don't get discouraged. Be not dismayed, you know. Just glorify your beauty. Because now Empress told me before with her king man, she had a king man, she's like, you know, she want to look nice and sometimes she want to, you know, do up her locks or whatever, take off her fall and do her locks up, look nice or whatever like that. I had to explain though, I say, you know, the hair is not just for that. It serves a more significant purpose than just making it look good. You know, that's a antenna so you could reach the Jah in a more clear form. You know, it's like a remote, you know, change the channels, you know, change the channels, man. You could get the Jah, you know, much easier once you know and understand the functioning of your locks, you know what I mean? So I give thanks for such understanding, you know, and I pray, you know, once get a full clearance where I'm coming from, you know, with knowing the sacredness of the locks and how it become, you know, revolutionized and how it become a fashion today. You know, don't let the fashion wares of the locks, you know, overpower us, man. We can't let them win. Because enough people just look at us in a negative form just because of them who wearing the locks wrong. You get enough individuals who keeping up plenty folly wearing locks and thing, you know, and enough people understand that the locks really, especially in the West, rooted from I and I, it's a Rastaman number bring life to dreadlocks. And through the reggae and thing, that's when the world started to take it to a fashion level after the reggae in the 1970s. So we give thanks, you know, for King Manuel Charles Edwards, the dreadlocks god, you know. We give thanks for Marcus Messiah Garvey, we give thanks for King Rastafari, the first Rastaman, we could see on his pictures when he's 3 and 5 years old, he have the dreadlocks, So the man know the significance of the locks, it's just, it wasn't his part to really come and live to that Nazarite vow, that priestical order. He appointed his son to really care through such order, King Manuel VII, Adonai, God, Jah, Rastafari, that's my few words, and give thanks, for such reason, and give thanks for the listening ears. Give thanks, the family near and far, and until we meet again, and glorify, give thanks for the dreadlocks warriors and warriors, my lords and empress and little ones, continue to glorify your beauty, continue to glorify that woolly hair, continue to glorify the garments the man give us to wear to, to even show him off into the world, and let his light shine, through I and I them, let his glory shine through I and I liberty, give thanks. Holy Mama Mega Eyes, last year, Rastafari, my Lord and Empress, blessed love until we meet again. Honorable, bless.